friends, my name is Alex. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all things fantasy, fandom, and fiction in general. And most importantly, welcome to my first YouTube video. Right now I think we're seeing a lot of people transition over to Booktube from different platforms or just finally making their Booktube, which has definitely always been a secret desire of mine. I've been posting over on TikTok for about 4 years and Instagram for 1.5 to 2 years now, and I just couldn't find another reason to put off making a YouTube channel. And I thought, what better way to join the Booktube community than with a bookshelf tour, which is always just so fun to watch. We have just over 1,000 books, which means I have a personal library, which is so cool. Most of them are here in this room, but I do have a collection of classics in my bedroom as well. Before we get into the bookshelf tour, a little bit about me. Again, my name is Alex, Virgo sun and moon, and a Leo rising. Take that as you will. Enneagram 8W7 and an INFJ. So let me know all your personal details below. I always think that's so fun. I have 2 cats, Ray Skywalker and Cal Kestis. If you get the reference, let me know. I'm also a mother to 2 human children with 1 on the way. I used to work at Lush Cosmetics, Trader Joe's. I used to be an indie romance bookseller, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom and content creator. So if you have any of those things in common with me, please let me know. I'm always looking to make new bookish friends. Now without further ado, the bookshelf tour. For once, I'm actually going to start over here with this little shelf by my window because it does not get enough love. So on the book tree, we have a lot of science fiction. Some of it is my husband's, like the Ender's Game series. I have 5 of the 6 current Red Rising books. The Book of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft, my favorite Blake Crouch book, Dark Matter, Robert Jackson Bennett's Foundry Side trilogy, an arc of the new Adrian Tchaikovsky book, Douglas Adams' This Is How We Lose the Time War, and Hank Green's duology. And then on the last tier, Project Hail Mary and Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, some personal favorites. Billy D. Williams, aka Lando Calrissian's memoir, a misprint of a book that is backwards, and a poetry book from my best friend for my birthday this year. And then yes, that is Iris and Kit below. And focusing in on the top shelf, this is just some contemporary romance and fiction in a rainbow order, and the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh. On the bottom shelf, we have Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, and then it goes into some historical romance and fantasy. Briefly popping you over to my book cart, the top shelf is all published Raylo books, including my own for Love and Bylines under the pen name Marin Taylor, arcs of the Hurricane Wars, and then just other published Raylo. Shelf is some of my favorite contemporary romances in, again, a rainbow order. Bottom shelf is some bound fan fiction, including my own, and an arc of Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto, one of my favorites. And then going into my main bookshelves, I've got this corner bookshelf on the left, and these are the first 2 of my 6 main bookshelves. As you can most likely see, we're starting off with some Star Wars books. I am a big Star Wars fan, and I do really like to keep things in chronological order. I will say, with the exception of on that top left shelf, Star Wars: The High Republic, also by the middle grade, the young adult, and then the adult novels. I used to have them actually in chronological order with all the genres mixed, and I just think it looks better like this. High Republic is from the beginning to where Jar Jar Binks is, and then on the next shelf over, starting with Obi-Wan, we have the chronological order of the published canon Star Wars books. Some of my personal favorites are Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, Brotherhood by Mike Chen, Padme Trilogy by E.K. Johnston, both Thrawn trilogies by Timothy Zahn, Rebel Rising by Beth Revis, Lost Stars, and Leia Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray, as well as Bloodline by Claudia Gray. I'm a big Leia girl, if you can't tell. The Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis, Alphabet Squadron Trilogy by Alexander Free, Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. Also, the sequel trilogy novelizations are amazing, and both Phasma and Black Spire by Delilah S. Dawson. After the Holdo Pop Socket and the Raylo Pin starts my collection of Legends Star Wars books, which goes on to the next shelf. A lot of mass market paperback, but some hardcovers when I was able to find them. And then on the corner shelf, I have the Fairy Lou Ashley Poston books, the Afterlight Allie Hazelwood's, the first 3, and the Book of the Month Allie Hazelwood's. Moving on down, you will see on the corner shelf, I have the special editions of Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, and then we have my Sander shelf, both Mistborn series, and then the Stormlight Archive, which I have read 3 of 5 of, as well as some of standalones from the Cosmere and his Skyward series. And I am someone who, other than a few exceptions, does classify things by vibe. So the next shelf is kind of gothic, mysterious vibes, if you will. Some of my favorite series are the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig, Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Further down on the very far left, we have some of my Sarah M. Craddock romantasy books. They are absolutely stunning. I've got the hardcovers. They have a beautiful dust jacket and hard case. And then that next shelf over, starting with Jen Lyons, is some high fantasy. Some may call it old man fantasy. James Islington's The Will of the Many was one of my favorite books of 2024. I cannot wait for the next. And I'm definitely hoping to start my Robin Hobb journey in 2025. And then going into the next shelf, we have sci-fi. Some of this is YA, some of it is adult. Starting off with The Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, one of my favorite mixed media series. And then a couple of series that are on my physical TBR. So The Devoured Worlds trilogy by Megan E. O'Keefe, Kingdom trilogy by Bethany Jacobs. I've got the first 2 books. And it kind of goes into YA again from there. So The Heart of Iron duology by Ashley Poston, Hunger Games, Scythe, another favorite series, and the first 2 books, Jennifer L. Armentrout's Obsidian series. On the last shelf, starting at the bottom left, we have the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman, the Fairy Loot editions, and then a lot of Disney books. So I've got some Twisted Tales, some standalones, the Princes series by Lindsay Miller, The Queen's Counsel, a lot of Frozen books, and then the first book in the Enchanter's Tale series by Jen Calanata. Going on to the next shelf, you'll see the Villains series, all that are currently out by Serena Valentino. Fantastic. And then we're briefly having some middle grade books. I've got the Howl's Moving Castle series by Diana Wynne Jones, Fool for Good and Evil books, and the prequels. Some of my YA favorites from when I was younger, Scott Westerfeld's Ugly series, and the Corruption Disruption duology by Jessica Shervington, which is fantastic YA sci-fi dystopian, highly underrated. And the last shelf here of the 3 is the top shelf. You can clearly see what we're working with there. We will kind of gloss over that. And the second shelf is some of my favorite YA authors, Leigh Bardugo with her Grishaverse and Mary E. Pearson. This third shelf, the theme starts off with letters. We have the Letters of Enchantment duology by Rebecca Ross, a couple editions. Going into some magical realism with The Warm Hands of Ghosts, The 10,000 Doors of January, 100 Loves of Juliet. And then it kind of goes more into, from there, time travel-y, timey-wimey stuff. The Monster series by Vanessa Len, that last one. The 3rd book comes out this year, one of my favorites. The 3rd shelf below that is fantasy, a lot of Kingdoms and Queendoms. And the last 2 shelves on this bookshelf, starting off with the Throne of Glass series and then going into some books that have either pirates or like a seafaring vibe to them. And the bottom shelf is, of course, Shadowhunters by Cassandra Clare. On to the 4th shelf. On the top shelf, we have some of my API fantasy, including some of my favorites, Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, The Sword of Kaigan by ML Wong, and of course, the finished copies of The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. The next shelf down is going to be some YA romantasy, a couple Bridget Kemmerer series, CJ Redwine, Lexi Ryan, Krista Kishore, and Alex Astor. Now I will say that the next couple shelves kind of flow more if you're going horizontally, but we are doing this vertically, so bear with me. Starts off with some YA, more high fantasy books, and then it goes into the start of my very like fae relevant shelves, some YA, some adults. Below that is the start of my vampire shelf. So of course we've got the From Blood and Ash and the Flesh and the Fire series, Jennifer L. Armentrout, Twilight, and The Crowns of Nyaxia by Carissa Broadbent, as well as a couple standalones. Things start to get a little bit more mucked up with the vibes on this next shelf, but mainly just think some sort of romantasy. That is my preferred genre. I'm obsessed with Rebecca Ross's writing, so The Elements of Cadence is one of my favorites. A lot of these books are part of my physical TBR. I try to read a lot of indie authors, especially in romantasy. There are so many, so you'll see a lot of kind of new to me, new to you possibly series. And the bottom shelf of this 4th one is going to be Dark Academia. Another favorite, Blood Over Brighthaven by ML Wong. Going into the Black Witch Chronicles, which is upper YA. Babel by Arif Kwong, Leigh Bardugo again, Samantha Shannon, just a little bit of everything. I'm really obsessed with this shelf. Top of the 5th shelf here in the middle, where you're gonna see Aziraphale and Crowley. Brickheads from Good Omens. It's gonna be more of a dark fantasy shelf. Angels and Demons, Shadow Daddies, etc. For L. Armentrout series that is stacked. It deals with gargoyles. Some favorites in here like The Demon Queen Trials by C.N. Crawford and The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. The next shelf with the crown is some fairy tale retellings, fairy tale-esque books. We've got the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy first with some dust jackets from Lilac Libraries. The Curse Breaker series by Bridget Kemmerer with special dust jackets. The Fairy Loot and the regular editions of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Lady Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker, which starts off as kind of like a dark Rapunzel retelling. And then this next shelf is continuing my Fae-esque books. Starting off with A Court of Thorns and Roses. Those are special dust jackets from Etsy. Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. Claire Legrand's Fae Meets Bridgerton series. Olivia Wildenstein. They are like Fae with Raven shifters. And a few others. I'm obsessed with A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. And of course, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Next shelf starts off with the Bloodgrace series by Bella Roth, which is continuing my vampire-esque shelf. They are called Hesperines in that world though. This is oftentimes a focal point in some of my videos. So this is just some favorite series. The Crowns trilogy by Nicola Tyke. Artifacts of Uranus by Nisha J. Tooley. The War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent. And Jay Bree's Crown of Oaths and Curses. The last two shelves on bookshelf number 5 are more high fantasy romantasy books. I have been loving the Reign of Shadows and Endings series by Melissa K. Rorich. I hope to get into the Lady of Darkness series this year. Same with Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick on the bottom shelf is my friend Katie's favorite series. There is a tarot-based magic system, hidden identities, a little bit of a heist going on. I've read the first book, but it's been a while. I probably need to redo the whole series. More indie romantasy, and then at the very end of that shelf are some kind of Greek god-inspired books with Alexandra Warwick, Elise Nelson, and Paige Lavoie. I bet you can guess the theme of the top bookshelf here. You're starting off with books with dragons. And in the middle of that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. Absolute favorites up here include The Last Namsara, When the Moon Hatched, and House of Dragons by K.A. Lind. Next shelf down kind of continues my fairy tale-esque and fairy tale retellings books. Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan, Never by Jessa Hastings, Heartless by Marissa Meyer, Second Star to the Left by Megan Van Dyke, and the For the Wolf, For the Throne, aka the Wilderwood duology by Hannah Witten are some of my absolute favorites. Some more romantasy on the next shelf here. I am absolutely obsessed with Evie Marco's White Horse Black Knights series and Feather by Olivia Wildenstein. Their standouts are A Touch of Golden Madness by Cale DeVore and Avalon Tower by C.N. Crawford and Alex Rivers. You guessed it, more romantasy. Everyone and their mother has been reading and loving Metal Slinger, so that is definitely high up on my TBR. Wrath and Flame series by K.A. Tucker is severely underrated and now complete. And then that kind of leads into some urban fantasy with Tara Sim, Kayla Edwards, and SJM. The City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards is my current read. This next shelf is one of my absolute favorites. A lot of Middle Eastern and Asian fantasy. I've been seeing a lot more love for the Mages of the Wheel series by J.D. Evans, and I've read the first book and absolutely loved it. Of course, City of Brass by S.A. Shakaborty is a classic, and The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson was one of my favorite reads of 2024. This is a mix of adult and YA fantasy. This bottom shelf on my last bookshelf is witchy books, except for the Guild series by Raven Kennedy first because I didn't really have anywhere else to put it. She is big. The Witchland series by Susan Dennard I need to finish, but it is absolutely slept on and fantastic, and honestly a lot of books that I still need to get to. And we absolutely cannot forget the Zodiac Academy series that is on floating shelves behind my reading chair. Thank you so much for checking out my bookshelf tour. The bookshelves I use will be listed below, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have. Till next time.